Kamado Show. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Coley. We are the brother-sister anime duo. Not in a love you like a brother or sister kind of way, but as in go ask our mom, she's the same person.
This show is an anime lover's safe haven catered toward the average anime lover, free from spoilers.
So today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Netflix adaptation live-action One Piece final episode 8 of season 1. So let's get started.
All right, so where are we kicking off now?
We had a couple of blurbs that we took note of that in the live action, the villagers didn't know that Nami was actually like a good guy and trying to fight for them. And then, of course, we had the issue with she came up and basically had all of the money ready to go. And then, of course, what happened?
Arlong kind of went around, snuck around, and figured out a way to...
just kind of screwed her over,
Yep.
But he technically didn't break the rules. He had one of his marine mouse goons do it. That mouse marine guy, Captain Nezumi.
Nezumi, yeah, good memory. I was drawing a blank on his name. I was trying to recall that as well.
Yeah, so then, of course, in the previous episode, they were gearing up to fight Arlong, and they had the really cool walk. So then you want to talk about the Luffy Arlong fight? Or
Sure, yeah. Here we are with Luffy, the final Luffy and Arlong fight. They really condense everything with the fight where they started outside and then things eventually worked inside. They just sort of had it all happen inside, right? And Luffy was seeing where Nami's place was, or when she was a kid working for Arlong, that is. And then she explained to Luffy like the chains, which oddly enough were still there. I don't know, were they just always locked there? I would think she would get rid of them if like she.
They were probably just bolted to the ground.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it really, really played into like how sad a life Nami has been living up to this point. And
yeah, and the tattoos, like when they were doing that old style tattoo, like really like just stabbing her with that.
Just completely branding her as property of the Arlong pirates. It was really, really sad. Mm-hmm. So, and then of course, Arlong, of course, really, really hit home that he really doesn't think of Nami as anything more than a tool. Mm-hmm. So what set Luffy off was how he said, would you have been able to use Nami as effectively as I have?
Yeah, the phrase use Nami.
Yeah, so he ended up like really showing his strength and completely breaking Arlong's sword.
When our boy really gets mad when someone offends his friend, that's when it really comes out. Which you didn't really see that toward the end of the fight in the anime, where Arlong pulls that sword out. Well, he pulled it out. He just like punched through the wall, and when he went on his, they call it the rampage, which they're trying to avoid. He reached in, pulled that sword out, then he went after him. But he just kind of had it pretty early on in the fight in this. You know, again, consolidating.
Yeah, they really did have to keep it moving because
you gotta have space for Garb and Kobe.
Yeah, they're like the main characters of One Piece at this point.
Right.
But I had noticed something during this fight scene, like, what is up with Luffy's shoes?
Yeah, when he does the Gum battle axe, shoots way up in the air. You really get a close-up of his shoe. It's like the Namekian shoes from Dragon Ball Z that Piccolo wears.
Yeah, like where are the flip-flops?
The little potato
where are his
shoes.
Sandals. Why is he wearing shoes?
Oh, yeah. Because I think every single arc in One Piece, even though they're always changing clothes in the anime, in the anime, our boy is always in flip-flops, kicking ass in flip-flops all the time.
Yeah, so I did some research on this just because it so bothered me. Why did they change his shoes? Oda wasn't a fan of this because he's been involved in the live action adaptation. But Emily Rudd, who plays Nami in the live action, explained in an interview that it goes against like Netflix's safety rules to wear the flip-flops and then also do stunt work. So it was just a lot safer for them to do the stunt work, and they wouldn't have been able to do the action scenes had he been in flip-flops. So kind of makes sense, but
some logistical things there and safety codes with realistically when in filming, and that makes sense.
So Luffy ended up just completely destroying Arlong Park, and just he was like, I can't defeat Arlong, but I can destroy his building.
I think it was another little thing where Arlong was saying, can't take what's mine. He's saying mine, Nami's mine, the drawing she made are mine. And then so just as kind of a way of, I think, really freeing Nami, and then just really wrecking that like really got to Arlong too that way. In the anime, Nami saw him doing that. He kicks the desk out was the first thing, and then she realizes what he's doing, and she just starts crying and says, Luffy, thank you.
It just really gets the tears going on you.
And meanwhile, Sanji and Zoro are fighting outside with the fishmen. Again, a very abbreviated version. Even Usopp, ran off and took on the one fishman on his own.
The lip kind of guy.
Yeah.
But man, Zoro and Sanji's fights were pretty cool outside. Like, they of course are like have the banter going with each other, just kind of snipping at each other.
Yeah, just like they do in the anime.
They kind of had a couple of the different banters were like, oh, I don't need 3 swords to prove I'm a man. Sanji said that to Zoro, which I thought was really funny. But then, of course...
And he talks about, like, why don't you get back in the kitchen? Was that during the fight when he said that?
Yeah.
Get back in the kitchen, or something along those lines?
Yeah. And something about, like, oh, Luffy needs us. And he's like, oh, Luffy doesn't need you, Sanji. And Sanji says, well, he needs my cooking.
Yeah. And then, one of the great ending shots, and again, this is like a lot of typical anime stuff, the way just the moves and the kicks and like the way they do things, and then just the way Sanji's final kick, and why'd they have to show his
they like zoomed in on the butt.
Yeah. those pants are tight around his butt, showing that.
Hey, it's One Piece. You got to still have the fan service in it.
Yeah,
it's just a little bit different fan service than what we're used to in the anime.
Yeah.
This one's a little bit more catered toward the female gaze.
Yep. And just that finishing line I love too, because this is typical anime where you scream out your moves that you're gonna do, which is unrealistic in real life, but they make a joke about it there. Zoro says whatever dish item Sanji calls that, he's like, huh, and Sanji goes, well, all great fighters call out their finishing moves.
And Zoro, of course, like, yeah, you're gonna fit in just fine here.
Yep. So just really kind of cracking jokes at, making fun of anime, being self-aware in that sense.
That was pretty funny. But so the fight was finished so much faster than what I was expecting. I was expecting that fight with Arlong to take the entire episode, basically.
Yeah, me too.
But then, of course, who do we see? Garp and Kobe.
The main villains of the series, right? Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go. Garb and Kobe, or mainly Garb, I guess, in this case. So what happens with Garb now?
Garp is just coming up and picking a fight with Luffy, and he's just like kicking his butt, and Luffy's like, well, I don't want to fight you. he said, well, you have to fight me. You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So
Pirate and a Marine. So that's just the way it's got to be, since that's the path Luffy chose.
yep, accept your fate.
Which is, I guess, ultimately, the test Garb is giving him. He's just like, okay, can't change your mind. Want to make sure you knew after all that was done.
Yeah, so Garp is just mopping the floor with him, and then all of a sudden he has Luffy picked up, and Luffy's like, you're never gonna change my mind. I am who I am, essentially, and he laughs, and that reminded Garp of
Goldie Roger.
right. So
you
then
see that flashback of Goldie Roger laughing right before his execution, his typical laugh.
yeah, so then suddenly the fight between Garp and Luffy is just done. And then he tells his foot soldiers, okay, go get those Arlong pirates. Like, those soldiers have got to be like, what the heck is going on here?
Uh-huh.
But of course they can't disobey orders like Kobe,
Yeah, right.
so they would have major repercussions.
Yeah. But, the Arlong pirates would have had a higher bouncy than Luffy at the time anyway. So by him redirecting, I mean, technically, I guess maybe it was okay to do protocol, but totally, yeah, you could totally tell, like, favoritism here. And
There are some ulterior motives.
Yeah, hard eye roll at this, but okay. Yep.
Yeah. So then, all kind of said and done, Kobe comes up later to Luffy with his wanted poster. Mm-hmm. And then we get to see his wanted poster. And then Kobe is kind of like, well, I have this news for you. And then Luffy is so excited.
Yeah,
like,
yep.
This is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, he's made it now as a notorious pirate at long last.
Man, it was so cool. So then I thought it was really neat. They had different characters from the show, like some of the characters that you even sort of forgot about a little bit, like the barkeep, got to see his wanted poster, and all these different people's reactions to the wanted poster. Of course, my favorite, I don't know if everyone else noticed this, but Zeph's reaction to it was my favorite. He put the wanted poster on his bulletin, and it said "Employee of the Month." So
his what day or two
Chore
there is
boy.
the chore boy. Yeah. That is great. I mean, in the anime you saw it posted up there, but it didn't necessarily say "Employee of the Month." So that was a fun little thing they put up on that.
That was pretty clever. And then we see Shanks
Yeah.
with
With his crew, and then Hawkeye. Mihawk, right?
That's whose name I was spacing on.
Yep.
But
Which I forgot that actually happened in the anime. I didn't remember
yeah,
that.
For when Hawkeye appeared, I'm like, what the heck are you doing here? But yeah, that actually did happen in the anime. He showed up with the wanted poster, and I don't know if you noticed this, but Shanks was also wearing shoes designed to look like sandals in that scene. If you zoom in on his shoes, so he's not allowed to wear sandals either.
What? He's not doing stunts.
I was so baffled by that. Why does he have to wear shoes?
Netflix probably has TV shows and movies they do where, women wear probably heels or sandals, right? Or, I mean...
Yeah, you would think.
So as long as they're not doing stunts, they can wear sandals or other things. Is that my understanding correct?
I think so.
Okay, they just chose to give Shanks
silly shoes.
Huh.
Just don't want his feet to be showing, apparently.
Okay. Well, anyway, I guess speaking of shoes and feet, we see another feet shot, right? With this epic cast off. The cast off ceremony is what Sanji calls it.
That was super, super cool. So I guess before the epic cast off ceremony, they're like giving each other gifts of like Nami gets to take a couple of her tangerine trees with her. And then you get to see the full sail with what other than the Straw Hat Crew's Jolly Roger on the sail, which I thought was such a chilling, cool moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, so they do the cast off ceremony and they each like prop their foot up on the barrel and they just go around and they all say their dreams.
And I don't remember when that happened in the anime, but I love it that they did it at this point in time. That was kind of one of the closing
perfect way to end the season.
Definitely. I just ended it with like goosebumps, just so happy, especially when they transitioned to We Are toward the end, when they're like really going through those final...
We are on a cruise.
We are.
Yeah.
And then but then they transition then back to the din, 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 as the final title screen pops in. So like really make that connection. And we see that in one of the early episodes too, where they give us We Are.
It was super cool. Like just the perfect way to end it. Then like after the screen kind of fades to black, who do we see who has the wanted poster? We get a little bit of a teaser of probably the next main bad guy of the series, right? So our newest Marine, we see Smoker putting out one of his cigars on his wanted poster. So do you think that Garp he'll play a similar role to what Garp did, Smoker, that is?
Yes, could be. The way they're teasing that, I would hope so, because they really sort of introduced this series, this opening of this season with Garb, and of course we've seen him. So yeah, I bet you we'll see Smoker throughout it. And also, if you recall in the anime, after they're done with Arlong, Kokoyashi Village, Kokoyashi Village, which is on an island, right? The whole island isn't called that, whatever.
Right.
Anyway, but they go there, but then they go to, and this is what I was trying to look up on my phone just now. I forgot. Logtown. That's the next island they go to, which is, where Smoker is. So that makes sense. They're basically just teasing ahead, probably. Although Nami did say something about...
She talked about like the entrance to the Grand Line. There's a river that goes up a mountain. That can't be right.
Yeah.
So that was cool to kind of tease that as well.
So there's that, and then there's also Logtown coming up, which is Smoker. So it makes sense that basically with anime where they went from this to this, that's probably most likely what we're gonna go up to now. So just seeing Luffy's wanted poster like really teases ahead to that. I love that.
Yeah. So we should probably just talk about our overall thoughts on the whole anime.
I really love what they're doing with this. I want to keep it going. Any negative like things I say, just know it's just me being critical. But I do really love the series. Again, there was that. When was it? The part at the Baratier when they bring the fishmen on, and then Buggy like having his ear inside Luffy's hat, and they went like really rogue at this point in time. I didn't like that many changes. Not that it has to be an exact replica or copy of the anime, but when you like veer off too much, that bothered me a little bit when they changed little things like that. I'm so ready for Garb and Kobe to be done. Like, come on. Like, yeah.
Garp is cool. Yeah. Like, he's a cool guy, but come on, guys.
They're not that big in the anime.
Yeah.
But I mean, I really do love, I really did love it. I mean, the actors, the choices for that was just spot on. Was just so good. outfits were really done. I mean, I know we griped about the shoes a little bit, but there's reasons why they had to do that.
Speaking of the actors, I do need to issue a public apology to Emily Rudd, the actress who played Nami. I was so iffy about her in the beginning because I'm like, oh, it should be like an actual redhead, and just kind of picking it apart. Emily Rudd was incredible. She did such a phenomenal job, and it was just so inspiring seeing her on the screen. Like someone who's actually an anime fan get to become a star of a anime live action adaptation. It was just so cool, and you can just tell how passionate she is about this project in the film. In all of her interviews, she gives a bunch of she does a ton of interviews for this film and gave some really cool facts that you didn't know about, like including the shoes. But then another fact that she told us about in one of her interviews that I thought was a fun fact was that the kitchen in Kaya's house was actually a pool. Like to set the scene in the kitchen, that was actually a swimming pool that they used to set the scene for that.
Wow. So, that's very interesting.
Yeah. So she was incredible. I'm sorry. I take it back. She was incredible.
Well, and perhaps
Perfect.
that even says something about her acting and portrayal of Nami, where it's like, even like you started out a little critical of things, by the end of it, you're like, oh my gosh, she really, perhaps that even
there couldn't have been a more perfect
because she completely converted you to just falling in love with her.
She did such a good job. A+ performance. No one could have done that role better than her.
Yeah. And I'll a little more on that later when we talk about our favorite actors and actresses. Okay, well, keeping this moving along, I guess then let's see. What do you think of Luffy's actor, Inaki Godi?
He did a good job. I was watching an interview, and he did not watch anime prior to being casted for this role.
Okay, but he sure has taken it on though. With
he really did and
really
captured,
getting into One Piece though now.
Yeah, he really captured that energy that Luffy has. So I thought he did a pretty good job.
Yeah. What about Zoro's actor, Makenyu? Sorry,
he
forgot his name for a second. Makenyu.
He was awesome. He did a really good job. So he actually he was asked well, have you watched anime before? And his response was so funny. He's like, I'm Japanese. Of course I've watched anime before. Yes, I watch anime.
Yeah.
So he's actually been casted in a lot of live action adaptations. So a couple of the bigger ones that I notated were Rurouni Kenshin, Full Metal Alchemist, and Tokyo Ghoul. So he's had previous experience with sword play, and so he's very well versed in that aspect of things.
Yeah, he has quite a list. I mean, even some that you hadn't even mentioned. It's funny because I had seen Rurouni Kenshin and Tokyo Ghoul, and I'm like, gee, I have to go back and see. I actually even looked up Rurouni Kenshin, and the guy who played, I forget I forget his name. I knew it was in one of the later movies, but wow, I still don't even recognize him, even with the screenshots. So yeah, he's played some really fun roles.
I was very impressed with him. I thought he did a really good job. I think everybody they picked very well for all the different actors and actresses in this series. So I thought they picked very, very wisely. There's no one that I have any complaints about.
And we didn't really talk about Usopp. We were happy with Usopp, right?
Yeah, I liked Usopp. Yeah, he did a really nice job. I thought he did a really good work with Usopp's character, making him maybe just a little more likable than in the anime. The anime, he can get maybe a little obnoxious with being super cowardly.
Yeah.
So I thought he did a very nice job with Usopp.
I was going to say something about Sanji, but we're also getting into your favorite actors and actresses, which I think you wanted to. I just kind of know where yours is going to go. So you want to start with your favorite?
Yes. So my favorite actor / character from the show of the live action was definitely Sanji, who is Taz Skylar, the actor's real name. Oh, so I was just so impressed with him. I actually liked the live action Sanji better than the anime Sanji. Like,
okay.
He wasn't a creep. He actually was charismatic, and he was pretty smooth talker. Like, you could tell that, like, yeah, he's still kind of a perv when he's talked about the blonde at table 2 or whatever, when they're still in the Baratier, and he's really smooth with all the women that he talks with.
He's so smooth. Why doesn't he get more women?
That's a good question. Yeah, that's a really good question. But like, it wasn't over the top. Like, he's not like wiggling his arms and not getting nosebleeds every 30 seconds. I was very impressed with him. So he was asked, and he did watch One Piece as a child. So he kind of grew up with One Piece, which was cool. So he was already familiar with One Piece when it started. And then I watched a couple interviews with him, and this is what made me like just so impressed with him. He actually picked up Taekwondo for this role, so he had not done it prior to this. So he knew Sanji was like, he doesn't use a weapon. His legs are his weapons. So he just was training in Taekwondo, and he's actually a black belt in Taekwondo now. So he was training for 8 months straight, 8 hours a day, every day. So, wow. I mean, you could tell it really paid off. He did such a good job. I was just so impressed with him.
Yeah, that dude is ripped in that scene where he had to jump in and rescue Luffy.
Yeah, just completely ripped his shirt off. He had to make sure everyone knew how hard he worked for the role.
Yeah. Well, and I think I heard somewhere, and maybe fact check me on this, but I think he even like took up a little bit of cooking, like learning
he did
some stuff.
Yeah, so he wanted to make sure he had the posture right and everything, so he could really do this role very well. So I was extremely impressed with him. But so he would train with his Taekwondo like in between filming. If they were taking a break for filming, he's like, okay, I gotta go practice my kicks and Taekwondo.
I don't know if it's anything like the CW shows. Some of those production days are really long too. I don't know what Netflix's schedule is like for shooting, but a lot of times in film and television, those are super long days. So I don't know, what this was like in this case.
I was just so impressed with his character, so I was just blown away. But anyway, moving on. Who was your favorite?
Well, mine's been the same throughout this whole thing. Again, I've loved Emily Rudd since the start of it. She just aesthetically looks like her, and she has such a strong, deep understanding of Nami's character just from, of course, being a fan from it. But just, it was really I thought she did great throughout the whole series, but really when she said to Luffy, "Help me," and just broke down.
So perfect.
That was really like that. That is just really such a powerful moment that you get from Nami. And so, anyway, the beautiful Emily Rudd is my favorite.
Yeah, she did such a good job. But
and she converted you over.
Yeah, she totally won me over. I was so iffy about her. But we'll ask our audience. Tell us, who was your favorite character from the show? Who'd you like the best? Yeah,
leave a comment and let us know. All right. Well, I think that covers it for the One Piece series, as well as our podcast for this episode. So that's all for today's episode. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Coley. Don't be a Kamado. Like and subscribe to our channel for more anime fun with your favorite brother-sister anime duo.
Now, new episodes come out weekly, so let us know what you'd like to hear next, and we will see you next time on The Kamado Show. Bye.